All right. Professor May Cecilia TESOL Alimen, PhD, is a full professor at the University of San Agustin, Iloilo City. She teaches English language and literature, research, special education, and art appreciation at the undergraduate and graduate levels. She has presented research papers at various local and international conferences across Asia and the United States of America. In her entire teaching career, she has been a recipient of awards. Recently, she got the Most Influential Teacher Award from the United States of America's United Filipino American Educators, or we called UNIFFIED. She got her Master of Education in English and Master of Education in Special Education from West Visayas State University, and her Doctor of Philosophy in English Studies, Language from the College of Arts and Letters, University of the Philippines, Diliman, Quezon City. Currently, she does internal quality auditing as a team leader and research ethics, reviewed as an ethical reviewer at the University of San Agustin. Her most recent professional engagements include the following: resource person in test, construction, and testing guidelines and principles. This August 11, 2022, she will be one of the more than 200 speakers all over the world in 40BE Global Virtual Education Summit of 2022, with the theme Transforming Education and Empowering Learners, with more than 30,000 participants, headed by William Spady, the father of OBE. Her lecture is Creative Engagement in Art Appreciation, Measuring Outcomes in the Teaching of Humanities. Likewise, as part of her professional advocacy, Dr. Alimen served as a resource speaker, research mentor, and trainer in teacher development programs at her university. As former chair of the Languages and Humanities Department, she has extensively promoted outcomes-based education awareness, implementation, and assessment. Currently, she serves as a team leader of the internal quality audit and reviewer of the University Research Ethics Review Committee. She also serves as one of the regional quality assessment team, or RQAT, evaluators, looking into the compliance of degree programs to the Commission of Higher Education's, or CHED, minimum requirements among private and public higher education in institutions in the Philippines. A woman of knowledge, please help me welcome Professor Dr. May Cecilia TESOL Alimen.
Okay.
Good
Good
afternoon, Doc.
afternoon, everyone. So allow me to also close my cam while doing the presentation. Sometimes I'm a bit allergic to an open camera when I actually share my lecture. Sorry,
All
but I
right,
can
Ate Beth.
actually open my cam later on.
Oh,
So
sure, Doc. No problem at all. But let me make you as my co-host so you can share your presentation.
yeah, thank you so much. Okay. All right, so here I am. Sometimes my netbook is not cooperating with me. Now I cannot find my presentation again. But anyway, let me check. Okay, once more, or else I will really be forced to share my whole screen.
Oh, sure, Doc. No problem at all.
Mhm. Okay, share screen. So thank you so much. Here I am. Can you see my screen right
Perfect.
now? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to start now. Before I start, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the committee in charge in STRAP, specifically DJ and the rest, for giving me an invitation to speak. I was a bit hesitant because I may not be able to meet your expectations, but you know, I also tried my best to prepare this presentation. So when I was asked to put the title, I was smiling because I don't have a title in mind. The topic that was assigned to me was portfolio. And I thought of this, save the best for last. That is portfolio, or that is the portfolio, because when we try to talk about the portfolio, it is something that we prepare towards the end. Towards the end, in all our practices, whenever we are asked to write a portfolio or to prepare a portfolio, it's actually creating the best of everything that we do. So it's actually saving the best for last. So I was thinking, I am also ashamed to get back my title. So I said, might as well give justice to the title. And now I am giving you, later on, I'm going to explain to you why I have to choose save the best for last. Okay, so why save the best for last? Okay, for a while. Give me a minute. I have to shift to the presenter's view.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm sorry for that. Presenter view again. Okay, may I ask, can you see my presentation?
Not yet, Doc.
Oh, so I need to share screen again. It has been some time that I used Zoom. We do not have Zoom at school. We actually use
Right.
the Google Meet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll try this one.
Oh, yes, it's coming out now.
Okay. So now I'm back. The same thing. So anyway, I cannot really see the presenter's view, but anyway, I'll have to be contented of what my laptop can offer us of this time. So why save the best for last? So it's said to keep something appealing in reserve until the end of the final moment, because the topic assigned to me was portfolio. And when we do the saving for saving the best for last, is actually a showcase of what we do uh, as a professional. If it is a course, we also give the benchmark of the practices that we are doing in the classroom. If it is a course portfolio, or if it is a personal portfolio, we are also giving the best shot of ourselves by preparing our professional portfolio. So, in order to set up your expectations as regards to what I will be talking about, I will have the following areas to concentrate with in this particular presentation. And I asked the question, how can such best be reserved if you're not ready for it? So I will repeat, how can such best be reserved if you're not ready for it? I tried to figure out what to do with the syllabus because I have observed that there is really a wide range of topics to be covered, and that I will be given only 45 minutes to do that. So I have to compress everything and to make sure that I have to cover everything in a 45-minute lecture. And so here I am, um, trying to construct this cycle of reaching the portfolio by trying to put in some of the considerations that a person needs in order to come up with his or her portfolio. So we know for a fact that it's really very important for one to be very good at writing. So we need to write effectively. That's one of the things that we need to accomplish today. We should also have a craft at writing business letters as what has been instructed, like the curriculum vitae and some communication letters that we need to actually include in our portfolio. And then how are we going to communicate? By applying the principles of effective writing and some principles like, excuse me, clarity, conciseness, and professionalism in the development of our written communication. So we need also to communicate with confidence, purpose, and we should know the right channels that we are going to use whenever we communicate. And finally, we have to prepare the portfolio. The end of this particular talk will be how we are going to come up with our portfolio. And so, I am not going, if I'm not sure whether this is going to work, but my dear students, if you can scan this and answer a 5-item exercise with regard to this particular lecture. Okay. So if you can, you just have to answer as I go along with my presentation. Okay. So you can scan. If you cannot, then maybe later on. So what is the craft of writing business letters? So our problem is sometimes it's difficult to write a letter, even if with the internet right now, sometimes we can still find students who have difficulty in writing business letters. So I don't think that our high school or our elementary school teachers of English have failed actually to teach us the essentials of writing business letters. But this is just basically an overview or a little review of what we do, especially in high school, in grade school. And now that we are going to prepare our portfolio, we have to show our best by trying to come up with a very good business letter. But how many of us still grapple with the business letter? So on your screen, you will find a review of how a business letter is supposed to look like. And majority of us would resort to a modified, a block form of writing business letters. And on the right side of your screen, you will find out the different areas or the different parts that we need to actually consider when we are writing our business letters. So I'm not going to elaborate further on what these parts are. I know you guys know the different parts of the business letter. On the left side, you have here a sample of how a business letter is supposed to look like. And what else do we need to remember when it comes to business letters? Business letters, we have to bear in mind the format and the font. And when we talk about the format, we only have three. So we may have the block form or the modified block or the semi-block. If you can see on your screen, this is how these different formats would look like. And it's easier for you to come up with letters because when you try to do a business letter now, the artificial intelligence is going to ask you, it seems that you are trying to write a letter, need help? So if you wish to be helped, then you click yes. If you don't want to be helped, then you do the letter writing on your own. So whichever way, you have options specifically on the kind of format that you are going to use when you are preparing your business letters. And over and above that, this may not be too relevant, but you also have to make sure that you are using the right font. The font that is considered to be formal and acceptable in formal written communication. So now, what is effective writing? why do we need to actually master the craft of writing if we are going to prepare our portfolio? Can you just imagine what the portfolio is going to be if our writing is not acceptable? So we need to express an idea in a professional or a proper professional manner. And whatever we are doing, may it be a professional portfolio, may it be a course portfolio, we have to produce a kind of professional written document. And whether we like it or not, we have to do it. So on the right side of your screen, you can actually find the steps and how to write, or a process cycle of writing. So this always the same old style and the same old process that we are following when we do the writing. So we do invent what we are going to write and collect what we're going to write. So we do brainstorming, we organize what we are going to write, then we do our first draft, we do the revision and or editing, and we prepare our second draft, and then we do the final edits, and then we are now ready to showcase our written communication. But there are people also who are very good at writing, and sometimes they don't anymore go into the process of preparing the second draft. But we always do the first draft. We do the revising and the editing, and we can even proceed to the final draft. So whatever the process is, it depends on our competence and the skills that we possess and our control of the English language. So how does one write effectively? So it's really a mandate that when one writes, they need to write with clarity. They need to write with conciseness, with coherence, unity, and over and above all those characteristics of writing, we have to make sure that we actually write with professionalism. But debates have been going on about the right word to use. And just recently, maybe you are also aware of issues on binary language, non-binary language, and non-binary language. And what kind of language are we supposed to use in the process of writing? And how does, for example, one write professionally? Oh, well, it's nothing is absolute when it comes to writing, but based on some experts, professional writing may be a style of writing that is clear, concise, and seeks to convey information and ideas quickly in a professional setting. So professional writing may be too far for some people, but professionals are really expected to come up with a kind of writing that actually is appropriate for the kind of profession that they have. So one needs to be informed about what or how writing is supposed to proceed, the ability to persuade an audience in the world of work or in any type of world that you are actually circulating in, a kind of writing wherein you need to communicate and provide information, and the kind of information that is needed right away. That is why at this point in time, we cannot underestimate young people. Young people nowadays are very good. There are young people who are very good at writing. In fact, we cannot underestimate them because content writing nowadays actually can give you the most monetary benefit that you can find without counting editing and revising and content blogging or vlogging or whatever that is, that these works that are actually happening online require that one should be very good at writing, and writing professionally, of course. So the type of writing that one can do in this particular type of writing is that which is actually very valuable nowadays. Writing emails, writing correspondence, writing complaints. If you write a very good complaint, then, well, who knows, you will get what you want. That was stipulated in the content letter that you have prepared. So, uh, others may not think that writing nowadays is not very important, but we have to remember that writing is very important, especially the kind of writing that we actually label to as professional writing. So when we write, we continue to consider the four elements: purpose, why do we write? The tone of the kind of writing that we are using. So it has to be professional, it has to be objective, it is not supposed to be emotional, and it has to be formal, not conversational. But mind you, there is formal that may be also conversational. Not the kind of language in a conversational manner that actually makes use of informal terms or informal lingo. Okay. And when we do professional writing, we also have to make use of, to determine rather, the kind of audience that we have. Are we writing to colleagues or employers or clients? Or who are those people who are going to read your communication? And what are some examples of these professional communication? What are some of the samples? So when we do resumes or curriculum vitae, cover letters of some information that's very relevant, like standard manuals, other or memorandum, brochures, or any other material for circulation can be something that we have to know how to write professionally. Reports, grants, emails, presentations, proposals, and more so, researches. So I have observed earlier that you did the literary aspect of writing, and that will make you a versatile student, because you know how to actually travel um, from literary writing or creative writing to technical writing or business communications. All right. So the same, I was supposed to give this to you earlier. I asked my daughter to scan and answer, and she said she was able to do it. So I will just have to look at the results of this activity later on after I'm done with the presentation, because I cannot shift my screen from one part to another. So we now move on to the principles of composition. There is a list here, and I actually got the list in the syllabus that was given to me. And these are the things that we have to look into, when we are doing our proposal, our portfolio. We have to look into these particular areas, so we will be able to come up with the kind of writing that our employers may need or the business world may be looking for. So make the paragraph the unit of composition. Why are we always asked to use the active voice in technical writing? In formal writing, it's always the active voice. Putting statements in a positive form. Maybe you have encountered this already, that we are not actually, we are allowed, but we have to do it sparingly to put statements in positive form. So we have to avoid or discourage statements in the negative form. We also are requested to use definite, specific, or concrete language, omit needless words. We have to avoid a succession of loose sentences, express coordinate ideas in similar forms, and keep related words together. So all of this will be covered in the next few slides. Okay. How does one make the paragraph a unit of composition? How do we go about this? So a subject requires subdivision into topics, each of which should be made the subject of the paragraph. So this is a little bit too technical for everyone. Some of you might say, I am not actually trying to fulfill any rule when I do the writing because it does happen spontaneously. Congratulations. How many of us actually have the ability to write as spontaneously as we can with no or less errors? So we do this trying to consider the paragraph. So the object of treating each topic in a paragraph by itself is, of course, to aid the reader. Now, we always have to remember this every time we write. Uh, the focus should be what the topic sentence is all about. And if we wish to include another paragraph, then we should be ready to utilize sort of a connector from the previous paragraph to the next paragraph. So the beginning of each paragraph is a signal a, to a writer, why do I have him here? That a new step in the development of the subject has been reached. So we have to always remember that we begin each paragraph with a topic sentence, and we should also end the paragraph with a conformity to that topic sentence. Okay, so it's not an issue. The issue here is how are we going to keep or to gain our focus on the topic sentence that we have actually started from the beginning of the process that we are writing. And why are we actually required to use the active voice? So generally, we try to use the active voice whenever possible. And whenever we really cannot help it, we also use the passive. But we discourage using the passive voice because the more we use the passive voice, the more we use longer sentences and the more our idea becomes vague. So sometimes the way that we actually tangle the words will have an implication now on the way the words or the statement is going to mean. So for example, I have included one active construction here and one passive instruction. And it's really obvious that when we use the active structure or the active construction, the subject of the sentence always is always the doer of the action, and otherwise if it is in the passive voice. And now, how does one put statements in positive form? Yeah, so you have to put statements in positive form in order for you to be effective. So you should have to avoid tame, colorless, hesitating, committal language, or make definite assertions, or use the words not as a means or a denial or in an antithesis, never as a means of evasion. So you have actually in control of the words that you are going to use every time you write. But we are discouraged to use or to actually do a negative structure or a negative form, but use the positive form. For instance, at the bottom of the page, you have here the negative form, which is he does not eat healthy food. He does not eat healthy food. But you can say simply, he eats unhealthy food. And on the right side, you have here, he was not happy with the results, but then you can also say he was disappointed with the results. But these are not absolute ways of expressing statements in the positive form. Now, if you have observed that when you do your papers, and if you try Grammarly or any other editing application for that matter, your work will be actually corrected if you are writing it in the negative form. So the artificial intelligence will tell you try using statements in the positive form. Okay, and how does one use definite, specific, and concrete language? How do we use definite, specific, and concrete language? We always have to refer the specific to the general, the definite to the vague, and the concrete to the abstract. So this is actually an idea that I lifted from the book of Strong and White. That's the Elements of Style. This has been recommended. I was recommended this book when I was in UP for the PhD program. And this particular book is actually used in Harvard, although it was published in 1959 and in 1968 and in 1999, but it is still the most valid source book that we can use when it comes to usage and composition. Okay, so please do not allow me to open the video anymore. Okay, so the next one, well, again, I will let you pass this one in later on. If you're interested, you can actually scan and answer the exercise that I have provided for in this particular section. Actually, this is now a section on how are we going to use the right word at the right time. I remember a little advert about somebody who is supposed to take the exam, the IELTS. How many of us have taken the IELTS, and how many of us were able to make it, and how many of our friends were able to take the IELTS and had difficulty because there is something that they lack in order to actually capture the essence of a particular written or listening material. I remember a friend of mine asked me, this is about listening to the proper word. And she asked me one time, and then she said, friend, what do you mean by two in a delayed? And I said, what? And she said, two in a delayed. Okay, I'm not going to answer because if you're going to ask me, it appears that there is something wrong with the statement. Two in a delayed. And so she said, okay, why not come to me and listen to the listening text? And so I did. And when I listened to the text goes like this. Hello, my name is Sarah Lim. Sarah without an H. I live 4 years in Australia, 2 years in Melbourne, and 2 in Adelaide. You know what was my reaction? You're very GAGA. You're very GAGA. You're very stupid, my friend. And then she said, what? And I said, don't you know what Adelaide is? And then she said, no, it's two TWO and A and DELAYED. And I said, Oh my gee. That's the reason why you were not able to get the essence of the reading text, because you did not get the context of due in Adelaide. And then I explained to her, to make the story short, I explained to her what are the states in Australia. And then she said, well, I don't know. I'm not from Australia. How will I know the states? And then I said, I would like to I would like to punch you in the face. And then she laughed. But the story is very meaningful because how many people are actually like this? How many people are not even able to understand because what they're thinking is another? So we have to be very clear about what we are saying, and we also have to be familiar. Do not ask unless you are sure. You can Google. You can use Google so you will be able to get answers to your questions before you finally ask somebody, and somebody will tell you that you are so stupid because you do not know a lot of things, especially English. So this is the problem nowadays. Okay. Sorry. So I'll take a sip of water meanwhile. Now, another thing that that is expected of us is how are we going to communicate with confidence, purpose, and what channels are we going to use? When you do your portfolio, where are you going to need this probably? You are going to need this in many parts of your portfolio, just like when you try to do a little information about yourself. Uh, what are, if you are writing or if you're doing, for example, a literary portfolio, so you need to be very good at writing. So write in a way that comes naturally. Do not write something that you are not familiar at, unless otherwise you are a very resourceful person. You can work with a suitable design. So what kind of writing or what type of writing are you going to venture at? What are the kinds of nouns and verbs are you going to use? So you have to really make sure that even in the selection of nouns and verbs, these are actually appropriate to the kind of writing that you are doing. You have to be able to learn also to revise and to rewrite. You are advised not to overwrite. This is really an error. We do overwriting, we do overstating. But the only thing we need to do is to say something by using a few words. So overriding and overstating are supposed to be avoided. And then, this is my favorite, avoid the use of qualifiers. And then I was asking myself when I was editing a paper from a friend in outside, and every time I have to look at the paper, I have to delete a lot of qualifiers. Qualifiers like somewhat, quite, very, little, these are qualifiers. And later on, I'm going to give you the logic why we need actually to avoid some qualifiers. Uh, we also have to make sure that the reader knows who is speaking, and we have to prefer the standard to the offbeat. So we are not going to think that the more high words that we use, the better the output becomes. But that is not the thing. So we have to simplify as much as we can. And how does one write in a way that comes naturally? So there are 4 ways here. Do not inject opinion. We all have opinions, but sometimes it's also tempting to write, to include them in what we are writing, but we have to avoid that. We also have to air one's views gratuitously, no? But however, um, to imply that the demand for them is brisk, so which may not be the case. and in any event may not be relevant to the discussion that you are doing at that moment, or place yourself in the background. So you have to also bear these tips in mind. And how does one write in a way that comes naturally? Another um, tip here is that we have to remember the breezy manner of writing. This is actually a kind of writing where the person imagines that everything that pops into his head is of general interest, and that uninhabited prose creates high spirits and carries the day. So when you do the writing, you really have to be prudent about what you are writing at. And also, how are we going to avoid fancy words? So when we try to avoid fancy words, we have to avoid the elaborate. Well, we think that this expression is cute, but sometimes the simpler the words are, the better. So they are saying here that it's not necessary to use highfalutin words, highfalutin vocabulary. Like sometimes, excuse me, you're thinking that your work is really very good because of the kind of vocabulary that you are using. But where in fact, if you're going to analyze it, it's the other way around. So we have to consider this one as very basic. So when you instruct students and say the word of instruction, so you say to the students, uh, what's the term that I want to think about? When you say instruction, when you say instruct the students, use a simpler term. So we have to actually, most of the time, reduce all terms to the simplest form. So we'll be able to get our meaning come across somebody whom we address the written material. Okay. Then, what about the qualifiers that I was telling you a while ago? So we have to avoid most of the time the qualifiers, like for example, very, rather, little, pretty. According to this source, these are leeches that infest the pond of prose, sucking the blood of words. So I was even thinking that why is it that these qualifiers were actually included in the English language if they have no use? And most of the time when you say in order to, when you say in order to, we have to drop in order. Instead of saying in order to pass the test, we don't say in order to pass the test anymore, but instead of that, we simply say to pass the test. And when you say very beautiful, you simply say beautiful. Because when you say very, the term very now spoils the beauty. That's what sources are telling us about. So qualifying words they should limit, or they should intensify the meaning of a word. But these days, we are actually discouraged to use these qualifiers if we can avoid them. So that's why you have to discover that for yourself also, because I too discovered that I pity the qualifiers, because sometimes they are actually dropped out of the written communication, and sometimes I am thinking that qualifiers have already failed their purpose. And so there is this book. I cannot read my I'm sorry to tell you this, but I cannot read my notes because I don't have my presenter's view. This is this work on the qualifiers, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There is something good in the qualifiers. There is something bad in the qualifiers. And there is also ugly about the qualifiers. So we have to be very smart, and try to discover which of the qualifiers may have good features, may have bad features, and may have ugly features. So for instance, the bad, how do we actually do bad purposes for a qualifier? I emphasize the qualifier because we actually have encountered errors, especially in student writing, even in professional writing, that the qualifiers have already frequently used, and they are not supposed to be used as frequently as they can, but they are supposed to be used in a more sparing manner. So overusing qualifiers creates wordiness and a waffling tone. So they are saying that when you do use the qualifiers, you are giving the readers the lack of conviction, and many of the readers will find your work not convincing. So, like for example, I have cited some examples here, which you may try to read a little further later. So you can establish a more confident way of writing by striking out the unnecessary qualifiers. So can you just imagine the sentence on the top is too long, but you can actually say it in a short way, in a shorter way, and still achieve the kind of meaning that you desire. And what about the ugly? Overusing qualifiers still. And it's ugly because it makes the work vague and uninteresting. So we are encouraged to seek fresh, specific alternatives to overused qualifiers, especially when we use the qualifier very pretty, little sort of and some, or rather, etc., etc. So we have to weigh and try to discern whether we actually need these qualifiers. And now, those concepts, those things that were presented earlier were just basically reminders of how are we going to write and how are we going to use those in order for us to better prepare our portfolio. And saving the best for last is actually the best that we can do in order for us to write our portfolio. And it's very important for us to write our portfolio. Now, in my experience as a teacher, this will be my 34th year of teaching, and it will be 4 years from now, and I'm going to retire. And in my experience, I have observed that when I let students do the course portfolio, I do not have a problem with a lot of things, like, for example, accreditation, um, internal quality audits. What else? Other statutory organizations that are checking up evidences for student learning. Another one is requirements after the semester. So we're actually required to submit student evidences, teaching learning materials, and a lot more, syllabi or syllabus. What else? And all those things that we're actually doing, like how are we going to show to our administrators that we are doing our work as teachers, even if we are not being observed? So in my experience, the portfolio is my saving grace. The portfolio is really saving the best for last. Why? Because if you have the portfolio, you will be able to show your best as a teacher, as a student, as an artist, as a professional, and as a person. So as a person, like for example, when I tried joining a nomination contest, I have to prepare my personal portfolio, personal and professional portfolio. And when I do teaching, I also prepare a course portfolio. So my students would always complain to me. I said, ma'am, why do we have to use, I already forgot where I threw my test. And so I said, I have given you the instruction that when you are enrolled with me, you have to keep everything from the first day of class to the last day of class, because all of those things will be posted in your physical portfolio. Before, I used to require my students of a physical portfolio, but now I don't require anymore. It's an option because we do have a digital portfolio. And in the digital portfolio, my dear students, you will have a lot of time to explore. There are a lot of things that actually you can explore by using a digital portfolio. So when we talk about the portfolio, it's actually the best that we have. So we are showcasing the best that we have to artists as a compilation of their best works, to teachers that's a professional document that reflect their knowledge, skills, and beliefs. Can you just imagine that you do your portfolio on a semestral basis, my dear students? Are your teachers actually requiring you to submit your portfolio? I hope they do, because I know you guys are actually very consistent with your teaching and learning experiences. So there is this need for us to prepare our portfolio to showcase the best we have. And this portfolio is the best material for students because this will be a material for the teachers to use during evaluation time. So the teacher may skip some of your activities, but your portfolio will show it all. So that's why we really need to focus. It will become a good innovation for a particular university or institution to require teachers and students alike their portfolios. At the end of the semester, students will create their own portfolio and the teacher will also create her own portfolio. So it will contain a lot of activities, the best that the teachers and the students are actually doing in the classroom, and saving the best for last. Why? Because these are actually summative requirements, summative evidences. And no matter how your administrator is going to scrutinize you, you will have an evidence to show. So that is the portfolio. And most of the time, we are required to prepare our professional portfolio. And even if there is a need for you to actually, there is no need rather for you to prepare your professional portfolio, you need to prepare them for emergency purposes. Why? Because when you do your portfolio and update your portfolio on a day-to-day basis or a monthly basis or even a semestral basis, you will not have a hard time trying to evaluate and reflect on the kind of life and the kind of work that you are doing on a day-to-day basis. So your portfolio will show it all. So you have to choose whether it's a physical or a digital portfolio. So some of you might resort to the digital portfolio because there's no need to bring your portfolio anywhere you go. And now that we are using actually the internet, we can save everything online. No more use of floppy disks, no more use of USBs, and so on. We are now really in a world that everything has become possible. So many of us, if you are going to, to look online, you will find that there are a lot of portfolios that are available online. And you can do also, if you wish to, as part of your workshop. And how do you write or how do you make a portfolio? So this is digital. You can choose a domain, you can pick a template, you can include documents and work samples by actually scanning all your materials. You can design your site and try to review. Review if the portfolio looks good. Does it fit you? Is that the kind of portfolio you want the whole world to know? And by the way, you can actually have it public or private. You can have a portfolio where you are the only person who can open it, but you also can have a portfolio if you want the whole world to see and find who you are, then create a public portfolio. All right. Now, what applications will I use? What applications can you use? Actually, you can use the ones that I have suggested here. For instance, you can go to wix.com, but I don't have the link here. You can go to Adobe Portfolio. If I try to link this one, you will be led to a site. Okay, wait. Why can't I not actually? Sorry. Sorry for the interruption. Okay. I cannot open the, all right. I'm sorry. I am not too techy anymore. So, I'm trying to open this one, Adobe. Okay, wait. You will be actually, I tried this maybe 2 days before. And when I tried to click this one, I was actually ushered to the website of Adobe Portfolio. And then from that site, you can actually see step-by-step instructions on how to go about with the portfolio. You can also use Canva. You can click this one, of course, but I do not know what happened. Why can't I not open it anymore? And you can also work out with Portfolio Box. You can actually copy the link, and then you can post the link in your browser, and then you can also work with eFolio. Okay. And actually, because you invited me to do a short lecture on the portfolio, I also created my portfolio, which of course I cannot open in this particular situation. So I'm sorry for the inconvenience. All right. Now, part of the part of the portfolio is our curriculum vitae or our resume. And in the syllabus, it says there that you are supposed to be able to prepare your own curriculum vitae or your biodata. And I don't think that this is something difficult for everyone, considering that we do have a lot of templates that are available online. So when you do the curriculum vitae, you have to think of doing the steps, but these are not absolute. So we may create a header with a contact information, your contact information. You may write your professional summary about you and what you do as a professional. You can detail your education, where you graduated from, elementary, high school, college, postgraduate. You can provide your work experience that is actually related to the job that you are applying for. And you can have a list of relevant skills related also to the work that you are going to apply at. And you may include other pertinent information such as trainings, conferences that you have attended, and a lot more. And you may also include pertinent activities like your hobbies or what are those things that you really like to do. So this is a step by step procedure and how you are supposed to come up with your CV. But my dear students, there are millions of CVs available online that you can actually emulate or you can follow. So writing a CV is a very important skill. But mind you, please avoid buying a ready-made template and then just supply your name in there. No employer will accept you for doing that. So you need to prepare your CV. You have to show your employer that you really did your best in preparing your CV. Here are some of the sample CVs. They're a little bit blurry, but what I'm trying to let you look at here are the styles of doing a CV. So it's up to your preference if what kind of format are you going to use. But you have to be firm at including the most salient parts. Okay. Now I have also included here the link where you can click so you can have what do you call this? I'm sure that the windows are opening now, but I cannot proceed to the windows. You can actually make use of the links that I have provided in here if you want to prepare a CV for yourself. So you have Canva, you have Zeti, you have CV Maker, and these are not. My dear students, there are still a lot of CV creators that are available online. Okay. And yeah, so now the references that I have used in this particular lecture is still The Elements of Style by Strunk and White. And finally, I would like to leave this with you. Words so innocent and powerless as they are, as standing in a dictionary, how potent for good and evil they become in the hands of one who knows how to combine them. These are the words from Nathaniel Hawthorne, and I my final words would be as English teachers or as students who are going to teach in the future, we are actually in control of the words that we are going to use. So the better we have control over the words that we use, the better our written outputs become. And the better the written outputs that we are able to come up with, the more chances that we will be able to market ourselves in this very competitive world. And that's all I have prepared for today. And if you have questions, um, I am willing to address them.
Thank you, Doc Alimen. It is our deepest honor that you have brought us into the sphere of reflection on the importance and value of portfolio. So, dear participants, do you have any clarifications? Any questions to our speaker?
Well, it's really 1 hour.
Oh, yes. Exactly, Doc. No questions at all. All right. So I will now, oh, sorry. Okay. I will now read the citation of our certificate. Let me share my screen again. Certificate of recognition. This certificate is presented to, oh, sorry, hang on. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry. That is not the right certificate. Yes,
Yes.
this one.
No
Okay,
problem.
I'm so sorry. This certificate is presented to Professor Maria Cecilia D. Alimen as a resource speaker with the topic Save the Best for Last. That is the portfolio. We hereby acknowledge the exceptional proficiency and dedication you demonstrated in the field of teaching English to speakers of other languages. Your exemplary skills in communication, linguistics expertise, and unwavering commitment to promoting language education have significantly contributed to the advancement of English language learning worldwide. Your impactful contributions as a TESOL speaker have inspired and empowered educators and learners alike, fostering cultural exchange, linguistic diversity, and cross-cultural understanding. Through your engaging presentations, workshops, and seminars, you have effectively shared valuable insights, innovative strategies, and best practices, enriching the professional development of educators and enhancing the language acquisition journey of learners across diverse contexts. In recognition of your outstanding achievements and invaluable contributions to the TESOL community, we proudly present this certificate as a token of our appreciation and admiration. Accorded this 17th day of February 2024, signed Carmela M. Salenga, President, Straps Prism International, and Dr. Roxanne Ruby Camarosa, Executive Consultant, Straps Prism International. Again, Doc, thank you so much and congratulations.
You're welcome.